the Kenny Pickett era gets underway against the Buffalo Bills, perhaps the best team in the NFL, going against the favorite for NFL MVP as it stands right now, Josh Allen. A tough task, and I saw this game opened up at 14 points, Muki. I can't remember the last time the Steelers were this big of underdogs. And I tell you what, I'm just getting this in. I think the Bills should be forced to play with offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey in this game as their quarterback. What do you think about my take there?
You know what? I think Coach Dorsey will be up for the challenge too. I haven't seen him throw some passes in practice, and he still got it a little bit. He still be throwing dots. So I think he'll be up for that challenge.
I think he's finally calmed down. I know that outrage in the booth went viral and everything, and I can't blame him. But this has been a Bills team that I Bleav is the NFL's best, despite the one loss. I know there's the argument for Philadelphia. I know there's the argument for the Chiefs. The Bills have some injuries too, but this team led by Josh Allen, and I tell you what, too, head coach Sean McDermott, I do not think gets his due in this league. I know everyone points to the 13 seconds in last year's playoff game against the Chiefs, but this is a guy who has come in and completely changed the franchise, the culture with the Bills, and I'm sure Bills Mafia is just absolutely thrilled about this. But Bills trying to get some revenge, considering that the Steelers beat him a year ago too. So I am very excited for this matchup. And again, it's going to be Kenny Pickett's first start. Storylines are endless in this one.
Yes, the storylines is definitely endless. And, it's kind of like, damn, getting thrown into the fire with your first career NFL start against the Super Bowl favorite team. So, I'll be speaking with Josh Allen later on today, and I'm going to ask him that question on, what was it like in his first NFL game on the road. I'm going to say just on the road, pertaining to Kenny Pickett coming here. I'm just going to ask Josh Allen what that was like. So maybe Kenny Pickett get a few pointers or two from Josh Allen himself. But Coach McDermott definitely came in and changed the culture. Younger guy. When you look at some of the previous Bills hires, those guys has been kind of old and outdated. And, McDermott speaks these guys' language. He came in and changed the culture in rapid time. And now, as we speak, the Buffalo Bills is pretty much the model of how to revamp a franchise in a very quick fashion with Coach McDermott and Brandon Beane there doing an excellent job on building this roster.
Yeah, usually the Steelers are the model franchise, and I'm looking at like the Bills and the Chiefs and the AFC, but it's why the Steelers go out and get Kenny Pickett in the draft, because you look at the quarterback talent across the conference. Josh Allen is in that mix. I'd put him like 1A, 1B with Patrick Mahomes right now in this league. And certainly the Steelers hope that they can get that spark with Kenny Pickett that, quite frankly, Mitch Trubisky did not provide in 3.5 games of action. And that's where like the upside to me is as simple as this. Mitch just didn't show through 3.5 games that he was capable of being the starter moving forward. And I know Mitch, I was kind of curious to see what he could do against his former team, considering he was Allen's backup a year ago. But I just never saw that spark. And Muki, I'll make this argument too. I would argue that Minkah Fitzpatrick, the Steelers safety, has been their best offensive player this year because he had the pick 6 in week 1 against Joe Burrow. He very nearly had a pick 6 this past week against the Jets. It set up the Steelers' first touchdown. But this is a Steelers offense where, to use the word stagnant would be an understatement thus far through 4 games in the 2022 season.
Yeah, that kind of baffles me when you look at how high-powered this Steelers offense has been in the past. Now, is this the curse of Ben Roethlisberger? I'm not sure. I mean, we do have weapons on the perimeter and Claypool and Pickens and Johnson. You got running back and Najee Harris there. What is going on with the offense, in Pittsburgh? I mean, I guess you can clearly point the finger at the quarterback. You used to having Ben Roethlisberger there forever, and now, you're dealing with the fact that you do have these nice weapons on the perimeter, but something's not happening offensively. And, when that happens, it usually points to the quarterback play. And I guess they had to make the change. Kenny Pickett is going to come in and provide that spark, but how much of a spark will he be able to provide up against the number 1 defense in the NFL? So, not sure if we'll see. We may end up seeing both of them out there, Mark, come games in.
Listen, I certainly hope not. And to steal Mike Tomlin's phrase, they're going to have their work cut out trying to block Von Miller off the edge because he's from another planet. And I know the Steelers are accustomed to blocking star edge rushers. I think of Myles Garrett with the Browns, a team in the Steelers division in the AFC North. But it's going to be really tough. And even despite some of the Bills' injuries, this is a team pretty much that is rolling on all cylinders, all things considered. And so, yeah, Pickett's going to have his work cut out for him. But I'm going to go back to the Steelers team that averaged 18 points per game in 3 games with Mitch Trubisky. And remember, the defense contributed to that total with some of their scoring as well. So it's not like the offense was putting up all those points too. I certainly hope it can't get any worse with Pickett under center than Trubisky. And I know with rookies, it's not always a linear progression, but the Steelers had to do something because this offense was just downright bad through 3 or 4 games. So you go to Pickett maybe sooner than you wanted to. And on the road as a double-digit underdog, it's like, man, that right there to me is going right from the frying pan right into the fire.
Yeah, you can say that again, Mark. It's like, well, damn, I finally get the opportunity, but look who I got to do it against. I got to make my debut up against these Super Bowl favorite Buffalo Bills. That's going to be a pretty tough task. And then on the flip side of that, Kenny Pickett being a quarterback, he has 2 fellow Pitt Panthers on this defense, and Damar Hamlin and Dane Jackson. So, if anybody knows some Kenny Pickett tendencies, it's definitely those 2 guys.
That's a great point, Muki. And the one thing I noticed in the second half that Pickett played, he had a rapport with rookie receiver George Pickens, and Pickens' level in one half with Pickett almost equaled that through 3.5 games with Trubisky. Now, I know Pickens is just one player, but the reason I point that out is leading up into the Jets game, Pickett didn't get any of the first team reps with other skill position players. Deontay Johnson, who was a Pro Bowler a year ago. Chase Claypool, who had 11 touchdowns, tied a Steelers franchise rookie record in the 2020 season. Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, he doesn't have that rapport with the receivers that a number 1 quarterback would normally have. So now that he's the starter, he can get accustomed to their tendencies, where they like the ball, situations where they don't like the ball, and they can begin to develop that rapport that a starter has with his receivers. He didn't have that going into the Jets game, and I think he still played pretty well, all things considered. So I think with Pickett too, the key is going to be reining him back to where with Trubisky, I would argue that Mitch was overly conservative, whereas with Pickett, a little bit more of a gunslinger. You're going to have to know down, distance, and game situation to know, okay, this is where we can't afford a turnover. Maybe throw it away, play a little bit more conservatively here. Hey, here's where we're going to have to open it up and take a chance if we're going to go on and win this game. I think that's going to be where the Steelers are going to have to try to channel Pickett, because at least from what I've seen thus far, and it's 2 quarters of NFL football, he does take more chances than Mitch did through 3.5 games.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I don't know why Mitch is so gun shy. I mean, he wasn't gun shy here in Buffalo. He wasn't gun shy when he was in Chicago. So I don't know, if it's maybe it's the coordinator. Maybe he's just not, dialing it up correctly to the point where, Mitch could be Mitch. I don't know why he's not performing up to, I guess, the Steelers standard there, but. He's definitely, definitely got the tools to do it. Just not sure, when that's materialized up in Pittsburgh to the point where basically he's getting benched for a rookie. So, I don't know. I could say this. Coach McDermott is already aware of that. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Bills last year. And that's the first thing that popped up when someone asked him about the Steelers. And, man, all I know is, it's a good team. We don't have too much book on them with new quarterback and a new offense, but systematically, we know that these guys beat us last year. And that's all that Coach McDermott is thinking about, just, getting some payback on how those guys caught the Bills slipping week 1 last year. And, that game pretty much put a dent in their home field advantage dreams last year. So he's definitely got that stuck in the back of his mind for sure. And he's going to make sure that, the Bills come out firing on all cylinders this week.
I'm going to say one last thing. You mentioned the Steelers coordinator, Matt Canada. I have a long list of complaints. A lot of Steelers fans do about the lack of offensive production. But one thing really stuck out to me because I listened to what the players say, Mookie. When Mitch Trubisky in Canada admitted openly going into the week 3 game that the quarterback couldn't audible at the line of scrimmage, and then the head coach, Mike Tomlin, disputed that. If you're an NFL quarterback with 50-plus starts under your career and you see what a defense is running and you can't check out of that, give someone truth serum because someone's not telling the truth there, number one. But then number two, it's like we've got to be able to figure this thing out. And if a team's stacking the box, maybe you run a receiver go with a one-on-one on the outside. Maybe you do some things that can counter what the defense is showing you. And again, this is just what Mitch Trubisky told media members, what Matt Canada told media members, and then just yesterday, what Mike Tomlin told media members. Just pointing that out there.